Hello everyone, and welcome to Who Created It and How. Today we're embarking on a fascinating and sometimes stomach-churning journey into the past to uncover how our ancestors practiced medicine. Forget sterile operating rooms and high-tech scanners. We're going back to a time of leeches, mysterious potions, and theories that seem absolutely wild to us today. So, scrub in, because things are about to get interesting. Our story begins in ancient Egypt around 3000 BC. If you got sick, you'd visit a priest-physician. They believed illnesses were caused by angry gods or evil spirits entering the body. Their solution? A mix of practical remedies and religious rituals. They would prescribe concoctions made from honey, which we now know has antibacterial properties, or willow bark, a natural source of aspirin's key ingredient. But alongside that, they'd perform incantations and offer prayers to appease the gods. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts in the world, lists over 700 magical spells and remedies for everything from crocodile bites to an unhappy heart. They also had specialized doctors for different parts of the body, like shepherds of the anus, which you have to admit is a pretty specific job title. Now let's journey over to ancient Greece, the cradle of Western medicine. Here we meet the legendary Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine. He was a game changer. Hippocrates and his followers were among the first to suggest that diseases had natural causes, not supernatural ones. They separated medicine from religion and superstition. Their central idea was the theory of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. They believed that a healthy person had these four bodily fluids in perfect balance. If you were sick, it meant one of your humors was out of whack. A fever? Too much blood. Feeling down? An excess of black bile. This theory would dominate Western medical thought for over 2,000 years. The treatment? To restore balance. This often involved diet, rest, and, most famously, bloodletting to remove the excess humor. Yes, for centuries, the answer to many ailments was literally to bleed the patient. Moving on to the Roman Empire, which largely adopted and expanded upon Greek medical knowledge. One of the most significant figures from this era was Galen, a Greek physician who served several Roman emperors. Galen was a brilliant anatomist, but there was one problem. Roman law forbade the dissection of human bodies. So what did he do? He dissected animals, pigs, apes, and goats, and assumed human anatomy was basically the same. This led to some incredible discoveries, but also some major inaccuracies that went unchallenged for over 1,000 years. Galen's writings became the ultimate medical authority throughout the Middle Ages. To question Galen was like questioning the sun itself. His influence was so immense that it both advanced and, in some ways, stunted medical progress for a very long time. Now let's step into the Middle Ages, often called the Dark Ages. After the fall of the Roman Empire, much of that classical medical knowledge was lost in Europe. Medicine reverted back to a blend of folklore, herbal remedies, and heavy religious influence. The church played a huge role, with monasteries becoming centers for healing. Illness was often seen as divine punishment for sin, and the cure was prayer and repentance. Barber surgeons were the ones performing the hands-on, often brutal procedures. Need a tooth pulled, a limb amputated, or to be bled? You'd visit your local barber. They had the sharp tools after all. Anesthesia wasn't a thing, so patients were either held down or given enough alcohol to pass out. It was a terrifying time to need surgery. However, while Europe was in this period of stagnation, the Islamic Golden Age was experiencing a medical renaissance. Scholars in cities like Baghdad and Cordoba diligently preserved and translated the ancient Greek and Roman texts, but they didn't just copy them, they built upon them. Thinkers like Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, wrote the Canon of Medicine, a monumental encyclopedia that became a standard medical textbook in Europe for centuries. They established the first true hospitals with different wards for different diseases, developed new surgical instruments, and made significant advances in pharmacology, ophthalmology, and understanding infectious diseases. They were pioneers in creating a more systematic and evidence-based approach to medicine. Let's jump forward to the Renaissance in Europe. A new spirit of inquiry and a revival of art and science began to chip away at the old dogmas. And the biggest game changer? The return of human dissection. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci and anatomists like Andreas Vesalius began to dissect human corpses, finally correcting Galen's centuries-old mistakes. Vesalius's groundbreaking book, On the Fabric of the Human Body, provided detailed and accurate illustrations of human anatomy for the first time. This laid the true foundation for modern medicine. At the same time, a Swiss physician named Paracelsus challenged the four humors theory, arguing that diseases were caused by external agents and could be treated with specific chemical remedies, pioneering the field of toxicology and pharmacology. The 17th and 18th centuries brought the scientific revolution. The invention of the microscope by Antony van Leeuwenhoek opened up a whole new invisible world. For the first time, humans could see bacteria and animalcules, although they didn't yet connect them to disease. This was the era of discovery. William Harvey correctly described the circulation of blood, a monumental breakthrough that overturned centuries of belief. However, old habits died hard. Bloodletting was still incredibly popular. Even George Washington was famously bled several times in the days leading up to his death. The 19th century is where things really started to look like modern medicine. This is the century of anesthesia and antiseptics. Imagine surgery before 1846. It was a fast, brutal, and nightmarish ordeal. Then, William Morton demonstrated the use of ether as a surgical anesthetic. Suddenly, surgeons had time to perform careful, complex operations without the patient screaming in agony. But even with anesthesia, post-operative infection was a massive killer. That's where Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister come in. Pasteur's germ theory proved that those tiny microorganisms seen under the microscope caused disease and decay. Building on this, surgeon Joseph Lister pioneered antiseptic surgery, using carbolic acid to sterilize instruments and clean wounds. Death rates from surgery plummeted. These two breakthroughs transformed surgery from a last resort into a life-saving procedure. Finally, we arrive in the 20th century, a period of explosive medical progress. In 1928, Alexander Fleming accidentally discovered penicillin, ushering in the age of antibiotics. Diseases that were once a death sentence, like pneumonia and syphilis, became treatable. Vaccines pioneered by Edward Jenner in the late 18th century with smallpox became widespread, eradicating or controlling diseases like polio and measles. We unlocked the structure of DNA, leading to the field of genetics and a deeper understanding of hereditary diseases. We developed imaging technologies like X-rays, CT scans, and MRIs, allowing us to see inside the body without cutting it open. From magical spells to genetic sequencing, the journey of medicine is a testament to human curiosity, perseverance, and our relentless desire to understand and heal. The practices of the past may seem barbaric, but they were the necessary and often fumbling steps on the path to the incredible medical capabilities we have today. It makes you appreciate your next doctor's visit, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through medical history. What past practice surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Who Created It and How, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the past. We'll see you in the next video.